When you're born, they say you're born looking like your daddy, but you'll die looking like your choices.
Ooh.
And the opportunity that you have to choose what you're going to do next is going to be the difference maker. Welcome to Whole Heart Healed. I'm Danny Williams, and I'll be joined in just a moment by Celeste, the emotional locksmith. And we are coming to talk to you in this episode about the impact of absentee fathers. Absentee fatherism is not just something that happens when there's a father not living in the home. We're going to dive deep into how fatherlessness is plaguing our society, what we can do in order to undo the hurt, the brokenness, and all of the dysfunction that happens when we don't have those positive male role models in our lives. We want you to join in the conversation in the comments section, and we look forward to continuing to add value into your lives. Let's jump right into the conversation, and feel free to join us in the comments section below. Welcome again. I am Danny at Growth Coach D on all social media platforms.
I am Celeste Curry, the emotional locksmith.
And we are here today to talk about something that a lot of people are experiencing. The impact of absentee fathers.
Say it again. Absentee who?
Fathers. The impact of absentee fathers.
Yeah.
And you were saying right before we hit the record button that absentee, well, I'll let you say it.
Yeah, it means a lot of different things. Just because you were living in the house or came by a lot doesn't mean that you weren't absent. Absenteeism you can be emotionally absent, you can be physically absent, you can be absent in terms of wisdom and knowledge and the information that you feed your child. If it's coming from brokenness, then you just give your children a whole bunch of puzzle pieces, but you don't actually give them a true picture of fatherhood.
Yeah, if you're not fully engaged in the way that your unique children need you to be engaged, I think that would be my personal definition of absentee father.
Yeah.
And I understand what that's like because I didn't grow up with my father, and it had a profound impact on me, on my life, on my marriage of 18 years, on my ability to even father my own children without having a frame of reference to draw from that was from a healthy and whole place. And so we want to talk about it because the cool thing is we're never stuck where we are. And even if it isn't your fault, it's absolutely your responsibility to take the necessary action to write a new end of that story.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you, what do you mean? Like, what did you see, like in yourself growing up without your father? And when you say he wasn't there, what does that mean?
So
Did you not know where he was? Did you know who he was?
So I've always known who my father was, and I've been blessed now. I have two dads, and I love both of them in a very special and unique way. And but when I grew up, my biological father, he and my mother never married, and so because I didn't have him present nearly as much as I needed him, there's a lot of gaps, that impact me in some really deep ways, and that brokenness has led me down paths that have not always been, well, let's just say good, and I'm now on a quest because of what I understand now to begin creating a map, if you will. And sometimes it helps to have others to help you create this map to a place of wholeness, healing, having a whole heart that's healed. Because is there anything so broken that God can't restore? That's why we're here.
Yeah. And so just because I know you don't mind, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper.
Come on, dig.
Details. What did that look like for you? What did those gaps look like because your father was not really very present?
So, those gaps looked like a young man who didn't know who he was. And I just had you watch a documentary, The Heart of Man, which I highly recommend. The Heart of Man. And in the onset of this documentary, kind of spoiler alert, it talks about the importance of having a father speak over you. And it says when we all have this longing, whether we are able to verbalize it or not, of having a father who's present, A father who sees, a father who knows, a father who is going to speak over your life. And in
Yeah.
the absence of having that strong male figure, that Abba, that father figure, speaking over your life, you end up being susceptible to any and every lie.
Ooh.
And I was susceptible to that. I didn't know who I was. I didn't understand what I was carrying or how to show up. I didn't have the confidence that I would have had my father been in my life
Yeah.
to speak life into me, to show me how to do this and where to make adjustments. And so it looked like a lot of insecurity for me. It looked like a lot of rejection issues.
Wow.
And so there was a predisposition to, I assumed that everyone would reject me because that was what I experienced from my father. And so I remember at one point, I loved basketball. When I got to a certain level, I didn't try out for the team because I didn't feel like I was good enough. At another point, there were in choir, you could audition for the solo part. I wanted the solo part. I thought I would have crushed the solo part, but I didn't feel like I was good enough to go and do that task at a high level. And I, in so many ways, held myself back because I didn't feel like I was good enough.
And you know what's interesting? That's deep. That you put yourself in a position not to be picked.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Where if you had just done it with confidence, because I heard somebody say years ago, confidence is the most attractive thing we can wear. You can be not as good at something, but confident, and they pick the confident person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that not having a father and feeling that rejection, it's almost better to expect the rejection and just fall and kind of lay low than to do it and take that risk, huh? Yeah, that's a big risk. But
Yeah.
if you don't have risk, you're not going to really have the reward.
Absolutely. But that fear of rejection paralyzed me. And it kept me from taking a calculated risk in areas where I was gifted, where I was talented, where
Yeah.
I had a little bit behind, I knew that I could do the thing, but I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have that voice of, you got this. Now, I'll say this. My mom is the best mom ever. I love my mom. She did a
Really?
fabulous job.
Well, I had the best mom. So,
Well, I'm sorry. You're going to have to get in line because my mom was the best mom. She did a fantastic job. And when I was a little bit older, she married an amazing man who also had a profound impact on my life. But I still
Wow.
had these gaps. And so even when you do have those, I don't want to call them substitute.
bonus.
Bonus.
Bonus parents.
Yeah, even when some of those gaps are being filled, there's a piece of you that always longs for a connection with your father,
Yeah.
with the person who, like, a connection with your father. And when you don't have that, and you don't compensate in healthy ways, you end up doing it in unhealthy ways.
Yeah. And so what's interesting is what's deep is that not having your father there, you got to fill in a lot of gaps for yourself. Like you create stories about who he is, what he could have been, who, you know what I'm saying? What my life could be like Kirk Franklin and his story. We get into that in a minute. But like he created all these stories about what he could have been had his mom or his dad been there, right? He didn't have either. But when the father is there and his presence doesn't meet your heart's expectations, that's something deep too.
I almost think it's worse. But that was just what I thought.
In that deep, that's just what you thought.
Yes.
But I think both are just really unfair. Like Dr. Emoto's experiment, I did a little clip on this on my social media the other day, and my children and I actually did the experiment in our home when I homeschooled them when they were younger. Dr. Emoto did an experiment. He did it with water. He did it with rice. So we did the rice one with the water. We had three jars, and we put white rice in them, cooked white rice, and we had water, in them. And every day there was a positive jar, a negative jar, and another jar I'll talk about absentee. But that first jar we wrote on there, I love you, thank you, you're amazing, all these positive things. And then on the negative jar, we said, I hate you, you're stupid, I wish you were never born, saying all these negative things. And the third jar, we put nothing on there, and we put that jar away. The positive jar, we went to every day for 30 days, all of the jars, every day speaking positive. And the negative one, we went speaking negative for 30 days. And the last one, we literally ignored like an absentee dad, and we did nothing to it. After the 30 days, the one where we spoke positive things, these were not refrigerated. It had a sweet aroma, and it was almost better than it was when we put it in there. But the one that we spoke negative to, it was molded. It smelled bad. And the same thing for the absentee one. Now, Dr. Emoto says that the one that was neglected is actually worse than the negative jar.
Well, that was just what I thought. I didn't have the experience, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, so the experiment shows that it's really bad when it's like being in a relationship with someone that can't show up for you. And I know I've been there.
So you're basically not alone, but you're lonely. So you're lonely with somebody right next to you.
It's like being so hungry you hadn't eaten for 3 days and there's a plate right there and you're wondering why you can't eat it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like it just doesn't make sense that you're right here and you could fulfill a need, but you just don't.
And I think it's so important that we're bringing this to light because the impact of the absentee father is profound. And it has so many implications in our society today in terms of how it creates brokenness
Yeah.
that we try to fill, and we end up pouring into these broken vessels, and doesn't matter how much you pour, if there's a hole in it,
That's good. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what a lot of us are doing. So just going to something as the violence that we see now in the schools, like there were some studies that were done that that followed the people who commit these atrocious crimes, and almost universally, there was an absent father figure. There
that's
was
deep.
a situation that did not create that safe space that should exist with
Yeah.
with that male role model.
Yeah.
And how much more? How much more? How many marriages could have been saved had they had a better frame of reference to be able to meet that need? So it's by no means the cure-all for all the ills of society, but I think that it goes without saying it's very major.
There ain't nothing
Yeah.
like having a present dad in the home.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you. So a couple of things. I'm wondering, a man that doesn't have a father or has an absentee dad,
Yeah.
how hard is it for him to really grow up? Or does he enter into his relationships as a boy? And I don't mean boy in an emasculating way. I mean as in developmentally stunted, like his growth.
No question. There is some, without the supplemental relationships, there's going to be some stunting of the growth. That isn't a permanent state of existence, though. It's just the reality. It's like if somebody, if you break your leg, you can't run on it. It's not a permanent state of existence, because anything that's broken, for the most part, it can be healed.
Absolutely.
But we want to first acknowledge what's broken, and then get to a path of healing. I'll say, remind me of the question again? The question was...
Is it do they enter into relationships as a boy?
Yeah, I wouldn't say they enter into a relationship as a boy, because you learn how to be a man, but the question is that really a man? Because how would you know? And so you begin engaging in a science experiment. Sometimes you're right, and sometimes you're not right.
But what if you're right, but you don't have the modeling, and so you don't stay on that course long,
Happens.
and you just experiment and experiment, and because even if you have a woman that does validate you, when you internalize that I don't deserve the good treatment or I deserve rejection, then I wonder if sometimes you can't receive it from her. I remember a man telling me that was cheating royally on his wife. She had done some things to help him in a certain area with some things he was really hurting about. But then when she found out he was cheating, he said that one of the things that drew him to the girl was that she helped him with this thing. And the wife said, but I helped you with that thing. And he said, but it's different because you had to, because you're my wife. She didn't have to. What do you think about that?
I don't know about that one. I'll say that even in terms of the obligation that we say that fathers have, a lot of people look at it differently, especially when you haven't had a dad. You don't feel like you have to be a dad, even though you've birthed a child into this world.
Interesting.
My dad wasn't here. I don't have to, and so, and then sometimes it's the opposite, where it's because I didn't have a dad, I'm definitely going to be a dad and a good dad. And so that you can be motivated either way, but that sense of obligation is, I think it does come into play, the extent to which it does. Like she didn't have to. I get it. I understand. I don't think that that's the only way that would be seen in terms of other men that I've interacted with.
Are you currently stuck, maybe on a hamster wheel, expending a ton of effort and energy, anxiety, discouraging, limiting thoughts and beliefs? Well, if so, we want to offer something special to you. It's called the Mind Shift Makeover, so that you can go from being stuck to unstoppable. The secret ingredient is how we come together in transformational relationship with others who have the right frame of mind to help you get mobilized to these limitless possibilities that have your name all over it. Visit mindshiftmakeover.com to learn more. And remember, we don't have to figure everything out on our own. Let's grow together.
I guess what I would ask you is, in your work as a therapist, what have you seen in terms of the impact of absentee fathers, and what does the path to healing and having a whole heart healed even look like?
Okay, that's two questions. There's some two good ones. So number one, what does it look like? I've seen it look like them entering into relationships to be a man, and they end up in parent-child relationships with their wives. The wife ends up being the parent, and he ends up being in the child role. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, because the parent role is not good. The child role is not good. The only relationship that's good is adult to adult, and that's in the middle. So the wife being pushed into this parental role is straight out of order. And so then it causes her to be resentful. It causes him to be resentful because he feels like somebody is trying to control him or overpower him, or now telling him, what needs to be done. But then there's an expectation from her that he'll just know what needs to be done, or that he will learn, go ask the questions. And when he settles into that childlike role, he needs more adoration and validation because he's not really even get connected or getting it from the source, and he never really got it from his dad. So I see that a lot, that they end up in a parent-child relationship.
And what's that path to having a whole heart healed even look like?
So I think awareness is the first thing. I always say it. Anything you're aware of, you can change. Like if you can say, you know what? This happened. And like you always say, it wasn't my fault, but now it's my responsibility to do something with. So I think when you get there, you're 50% there. Because now I can do something about it. Slavery doesn't have to be the thing that I stand on all the time. Slavery absolutely happened. It was awful. It tore down the black family and leaving, oh my gosh, the ramifications for many, many years. At the same time, I know my family needs something different from me. Let me go see what I need to do to find out what this is. So that's what I think. I think them getting their hearts healed, being awareness. Now go find out the tools that you need. Now, interesting enough, knowledge really is not as much power as we always said. So now somebody might give me the tools, but I don't know what to do with the tools. So that's why I love counseling. I love what you do with relationship coaching. It's like, go get a mentor, go get somebody to be able to connect the dots between the tools, how I use them, and then be able to kind of break down, all the stuff in the subconscious mind that'll keep you from using the tools.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Now we have some people in the studio who are with
Yes.
us, and we did want to take any questions that might be
Yes.
in the room.
We have men and women in the room
Yes.
today. Come on now. Any questions about anything that we've talked about today? Okay, got a question.
What would you tell a daughter if she describes the man she's with and he starts to sound like one of these men who are underdeveloped in these areas?
Very good question. What would you say if your daughter, God forbid, attracts a man that is underdeveloped from having an absentee dad?
Push pause. I would tell her to push pause. It doesn't mean that you got to eject the tape, the DVD. That's the generation, like, what is that? But the USB, you don't have to pull the USB out completely. But push pause, because the capacity of that USB might not be able to handle what it is that you're desirous of having, the type of connection.
Yeah, but Daddy, you're just you don't understand. Things are different today. A lot of people come from broken homes and different things. You're just looking at it differently. You're being too old.
So here's the missing piece of what I didn't get to. And there's a lot of people that's broken. There's a lot of people that have those gaps and those missing pieces. Do they have the awareness that there's something missing? And do they have the character to now take the steps necessary to begin the process that won't happen right away? But are they on the journey to wholeness? Or do they not even realize that they got a gap? Do they not even realize that, okay, Houston, we have a problem?
Yeah.
And so I would say you really need to have an objective view. And this is why it's important to be around other people who know you, who love you, who can see your blind spot, to be able to say that there's some gaps there. And in order for you to be entering into a fulfilling relationship, does the other person understand their gaps? Because if you're telling him and you the only one that's telling him, guess what you can be doing the rest of your life?
What? When I say and that gets tiring.
Every woman I know who's in that situation gets weary and worn down, and then they just walk the plank because they didn't sign up for that.
Yeah, yeah. But those of you that aren't married, I don't care if it's a week before your wedding. I have talked to someone and she called her wedding off a week before. Not because I'm the wedding crusher. I'm all for marriages surviving. And if that means you need to put that wedding off for 6 months, a year, or to never land, then that's what you need to do. So if you realize that you're in a relationship with someone whose growth is stunted, I think that if you feel like the person has so much good, give them space. Let them work on themselves. Not work on themselves for you. There's a difference. If I know somebody's working on themselves,
say that part again.
yeah, there's a difference.
Yeah.
To
Go back,
work,
rewind.
yeah, to work on yourself to be with me. Your growth has to be independent of me, because if it's not, the second there's a change in the relationship, then you will revert back to your old behavior, because that's a behavior change and not a heart change. And you got to have a heart change. Yeah.
That part.
Yeah.
Heart change. And so I think we answered that question. But
Other questions?
I would just say, yeah.
So I have a question about, because I know you guys talked about, a daughter attracting someone like that. So from a mother or father's perspective, how would you make sure that your daughter's very cautious in terms of who she attracts? Like, what would be your first steps?
Very first step, honestly, be the man that you want your daughter to marry.
Woo! Say it again, please.
Yeah.
Danny, say that again.
Be the man that you want your daughter to marry. Why would you expect for her to be able to know that better exists if you didn't show her better yourself? If you didn't give her the training, this is how you're treating, this is how you deserve to be treated. You're a princess. You're going to be the queen one day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a crash course. Not a crash course. You're going to have a whole doctorate in how you should be treated, how you should be loved, how you should be cared for, provided, protected. Because when a daughter sees that, she can't unsee it. And she's much less likely to settle for anything less than, no, my daddy showed me this ain't it. This ain't
good.
it.
That's good. And you know what's interesting? I remember this preacher, he said that he told his daughter when she was younger, he said, I'm picking your husband. And she would go to her mother and she would cry. Daddy said he's picking my husband and I'm not going to be able to get my, she thought that meant she wouldn't be able to pick. And so after going around and around for years, he said, when I take her to Carrabba's, when I take her to Red Lobster, when I take her to, he said, I'm choosing her husband. So if a man comes along and he tries to take her to Burger King on the first date, my daddy didn't take me to. He said when her mother's heart is hurting, the way that I intentionally lean in to support her mother when she's going through, I'm choosing her husband.
Yeah.
So that she chooses someone attentive. So the way that a man shows up, you're intentionally choosing your daughter's husband. Now for girls that didn't get that in
That's where
their
we need to go.
fathers, you can. Because remember, the connection is here. So you can rewrite anything. The good thing, if you're aware of it and you can see, this ain't it. My daddy's not really showing up for me. Then it doesn't mean you automatically have to get someone like that. Anything you're aware of, you can change. If you hit your head up against the rock, don't just keep going down that path. You can find. I've seen some girls attract some amazing husbands, but they had to be honest with themselves that they had daddy issues.
That's the first step. Is being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
That I got a gap, I got a hole, and acknowledging that is the first step to fixing that.
Yeah.
So I love the hope that you gave to those females and males who might not have had the kind of father that you need, because most of us have some gaps in this area. If we're honest, some just do a better job of hiding it.
Yeah.
I promise you, everybody's got some gaps as a result of the parenting they received. And why I love the Bible is it gives a clear picture. Like you see this man named Abraham, and it was all kind of dysfunction up in there. Him telling, say you're my sister. And then he gives birth to these two boys, Ishmael, and he sends one of them away. And it's all kind of daddy issues in that thing.
Yes.
And then you got Isaac and Rebecca and the favoritism here and there. Then you got Jacob and the favoritism on Joseph. And you got all kinds of
Ooh,
them.
I didn't think about all that.
We all got some craziness in our family, in our family tree. The question is, what are you gonna do about it? How are you going to react and respond? Because the pen is in your hand. You get to write the end of the story.
You get to write the end.
Yeah, when you're born, they say you're born looking like your daddy, but you'll die looking like your choices.
Ooh.
And the opportunity that you have to choose what you're going to do next is going to be the difference maker.
And I choose the truth.
Yeah.
And the truth is always, the truth is God. So that means that I have a father that shows up for me. I have a father that sees and knows my worth. I have a father that will never cause me to settle. I have a father that pours out his abundance upon me. So if you have encountered anything but that, just know it ain't real. And that you can still choose, because I might be born looking like my mother and my father, but I'll die looking like my choices. That was good. Yeah. And so today we have resources for you. We always, when I tell you we are here for y'all, we do this because we really want you to understand Whole Hearts Heal. And one day we're going to share our stories in great detail. Some of them we share when we do in-person events, so look out for those. But we share a lot, and we will, because we want you guys to know that we too have encountered brokenness, and we made some choices out of brokenness that landed us places where we would have never wanted to be. But now our hearts are whole and healed, and we continue on that journey every day and make the choices that give us the life that God always promised. Call to actions for them. I know you got something you want them to do.
Yeah, so we just want to encourage you to don't stay stuck where you are. Get out of
Yes.
isolation. Get out of isolation. Stop acting like you aren't being affected. Oh, it doesn't bother me.
Them lies, them lies, them lies.
Yes, it is impacting you. And in order to unshackle yourself, you got to
Yeah.
acknowledge what's there. And so just be okay with being broken, because you don't have to stay that way. But we got to acknowledge where we are. GPS, first thing it wants to know is, you are here. Where are you? And then, okay, who gets to plug in where you want to go? Come on now. You do. You plug in. This is where I want to go. All right, now, how are we going to get there from here? And monitoring our progress along the way. Get in the right rooms. Get in the right space. Get a coach. Get a therapist, a counselor, and begin to take those steps to have your whole heart healed. And if you need more, reach out to us. We're in the process of developing resources and a community
Yes.
that can provide that safe space for people like you, because everything that's broken, is there anything so broken that God can't heal, that God can't restore? David said he restores my soul.
Yeah, it can be better than
Yeah,
it was
come on.
before.
Better than new.
Better.
So that's our prayer for you. And until the next time, we invite you to please share your comments. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
What has been your experience?
Yeah.
Also, share it with a friend if you think that it'll be a blessing to them.
I say sit down, watch it, take notes, because the thing is, take the information we give you, start writing, because now you alert your subconscious mind that there are changes getting ready to take place. And then be prepared, get more resources, share it with your family, have discussions about it. And it really does start to break things up in the mind. And just know that we're here and we'll be back. And make sure you subscribe. Don't leave without subscribing. We don't want you to miss anything. Sometimes we throw out little things that are time sensitive that we want to give away and share. So be on the lookout for them.
Yes, and thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Yes.